Hey boys, only 5 days left now until we're back watching Chelsea. International break should be coming to an end soon. Thank God. It always seems to drag on, doesn't it? Even though it's only been, a week or two, it just goes on, right? We don't really need these international friendlies. The season's only just started, right? So let's cover some news we've got today. We did get an article by Simon Johnson that gave us some information as well. We got a few injuries, players coming back from injuries to cover as well, right? So let's have a look. So centre back should be kept an eye on for January should Chelsea struggle without Colwill. However, it is more than likely Chelsea would recall Sarr or Anselmino than spend. So I thought this was quite interesting, right? It was quite clear with Maresca saying he wanted a replacement centre back when we got the Colwill injury, only to him to reiterate that it was a misunderstanding and that internal solutions are fine for the position. So it's quite clear Chelsea didn't want to go out and buy a centre back. So Sarr and Anselmino are obviously on loan, right? So Sarr's at Strasbourg and Anselmino's at Dortmund. They're both going to be playing regularly, so it's going to be great for the development, right? But for me, I only think one of them can really make it at Chelsea. With Badiashile and Fofana coming back from injury, obviously that gives us the much needed depth in those positions that we've needed. We're only a Chalobah or Tosin injury away from, really throwing out a champion into the main team, right? Which is a big step up, especially if we're playing, say, away to the Allianz or Barcelona at home. We do need the experienced players for those games for sure. And with these two players, I think one's going to be sold and one can make it at Chelsea. So it just depends who has the better season. Or obviously, I think Sarr's slightly younger, so maybe they give him another loan. But for sure, one of them after their loan move, I think will sell. We'll look to get some profit, and maybe we sell Fofana as well if he keeps getting injuries, and we move on Badiashile maybe when Colwill comes back from injury, and then we've got two left centre backs, two right centre backs, and we should be covered for the season. Maybe with an academy player to drop in here or there, right? So let's see who performs better. I'd like it to be a meritocracy, so whoever performs the best. If Sarr has a really good season or Anselmino has a really good season, they should get a chance at Chelsea next season for sure. Especially, if we do make top four again, which we should, and we're going to be playing 4 competitions and hopefully going deep in all of them. We need the depth, and we need, players are going to get injured, especially with the amount of games they're playing. And we've got the World Cup coming up as well, so that's going to add on to it, right? They're not going to get a full summer off. So let's see what happens. But for me, I only think out of these two players, only one will make it at Chelsea. We don't have enough spots to accommodate everyone, right? So Axel Disasi wants to prove himself and get back into Enzo Maresca's thinking, albeit from a separate building for now, as he expected to be in the bomb squad. Disasi has declared himself available if called upon. And then we've also got here that he's training from the different from the first team group, at least initially, but he's ready if called upon by Chelsea. So, what does this mean? So, it's looking like he's probably not going to go out on loan. Maybe, no Turkish clubs came knocking. I thought potentially he could go on loan to Turkey, right? He's definitely good enough to play there. He's not going to move to Saudi. European clubs are interested. We missed that time frame. Bournemouth, were sort of interested on deadline day, but we couldn't materialise anything. And, Disasi isn't a terrible player. Definitely not Chelsea quality, but I think he can play, a mid-table Premier League team for sure. Even Aston Villa was a bit much of a step up, albeit he was playing out of position. He was playing as, an inverted right back, and he's just out of position there. He's too slow, too immobile. Wingers can just bully him from that position, right? So he does need to play centre-back, potentially even in a back three, where he gets a bit more cover and he has less defensive actions to do. But he's not a bad player, but he's not going to play for Chelsea, I don't think, at all. But yes, he can be called upon, but we're going to need at least 3 injuries to the centre-back positions. Just, off the top of my head, we've got so many centre-backs who are above him in the pecking order. And we've even got a Chong now as well, who would, Maresca would rather play than Disasi. And you think, yes, Colwill's out. But we've got Tosin who can play there, we've got Badger Shield there who can play there, Cucurella could even play there, Joel Hatto could play there, Champion can play there. And then on the right, obviously, we've got Chalobah, Fofana, Champion as well. So we've got plenty of spots there. So for me, Disasi isn't going to play. Yes, he's declared himself available, but I don't see it happening at all, to be honest. And look, we've got Lavia and Badger Shield, but both in team training. Now, the big one for me is Lavia. Badger Shield, yes, he's a decent squad player, especially because obviously he's left-footed, which helps as well, right? But for me, Lavia's the big one. You know, it's a unique profile for our squad. It allows us to play with another sort of deep lying playmaker, a bit more defensive than Enzo, but not quite like the ball winner of Caicedo, but he's sort of like a blend of both, right? So we're going to need him. And for me, if he can't stay fit this season, it's the same with Fofana. I'd be looking to sell them because, you know, it is quite ridiculous. We can't have players in our team who can only play 10 games a season. How are they going to develop to a starter? They're only purely going to be squad players. And even then, I want my squad players to be available. I want them to be fit. I don't want them to keep picking up injuries. So it's a big season for Lavia for sure. I mean, he's got all the talent. You know, he's a great midfielder. You know, he is a great unique profile as well. His passing range is top. You know, able to receive the ball and turn and beat the press. So super press resistant midfielder. You know, every club does need a player like that. But again, he has to stay fit. Hopefully now, because obviously Enzo and Caicedo, and we've got Andre Santos as well. If he does have like a sort of little niggle or he's got a slight injury, we can just play it safe. We've got a bit more options. We've even got a Sugo as well, right, who can play in that position. So we don't have to force him to play if he does have a slight knock, which means he should stay a bit more available, right? Somewhat more injury free. So we'll see how that goes, right? But for me, big season ahead. We're going to need him, especially some important cameos off the bench. And obviously with the Champions League as well. He's built for Champions League games. Let's just stay fit, okay? And some more from Johnson, right? Chelsea believe attacking midfielder Buonanotte can make a positive contribution following his loan from Brighton, Hove and Albion. I mean, obviously they're going to say that. It's not going to be a sort of Bayern Munich situation where we're going to shit talk, right? And say, no, Buonanotte is just a loan. We're not interested in the player. Yeah, he actually paid to join us. You know, completely bad-mouthing him and making him unmotivated for the season. So Chelsea aren't quite like that. Jackson's soon found out, right? Enzo Maresca knew that his say in transfers at Stamford Bridge would be limited and that his main task was to concentrate on coaching the team. I don't actually see this as a bad thing. You know, coaches come and they go a lot more often than the football players themselves, right? So for me, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. What's more important is the type of profiles we bring in. If Enzo Maresca approves of the type of profiles we're looking out for in the market, right? And we can go out and we've got 2-3 players who are a similar profile. You know, if we can get any one of those, Maresca can develop them and they can fit into the team. Rather than, you know, just getting these big names like João Felix, Sterling, you know, players like of this caliber. Yes, they got a big reputation and in theory they should be good signings, but if they don't fit the team, then they shouldn't be signed. So maybe you make exceptions for players like Estevao, right? Because the talent and potential is clearly there. But even then, he's a great profile winger to have, right? You know, superb dribbling, pace, composure, intelligence in the final third, decision making. It's all top, especially for an 18-year-old. So even then, it's not like it's a bad profile you're bringing in, right? So for me, I don't see this as an issue. Yes, he should have a say, but I don't think necessarily on the names, just on the kind of profile and who we're looking to build. You know, we want to build a strong squad. We don't want a squad full of egos or big names or anything like that. So for me, I don't mind this at all. And yes, in an ideal world, I'd like Maresca to stay for 4 or 5 years and he can really build, you know, sort of dynasty, you know, hopefully, and build a really strong squad. But we know the nature of football. I felt like that with Thomas Tuchel, right? And then woke up one day and Thomas Tuchel was sacked. And yes, we did have a poor period, but it just shows like things change really quickly in football, right? So, yes, Maresca's our guy. He's the main guy now. For me, he's a world-class coach. But that's not to say he could be sacked from a year from now. And if we bring in all of his signings, we're then kind of stuck if the new manager comes in and he's got players he doesn't want. So let's build a really good squad full of unique profiles that are really flexible and we can develop, and let's win some titles. So obviously Simon Johnson released an article on the Athletic. I do have it here, so I'll just go through what he said, because it was some quite interesting content he put out here, and yet he does put out good Chelsea content as well. So just talking about the Chelsea transfer window, right? Has to be considered a success overall. Obviously, results over the season will provide the ultimate answer, but Chelsea have addressed a lot of issues that needed to be looked at, both ins and outs. The squad does look deeper. Asugo and Santos, following a turn from Strasbourg on loan, provide depth in midfield. The wide positions refreshed with Esteval, one of the rising stars of the game, plus Jamie Gittins and Garnacho. Up front, João Pedro got a tremendous start, and Liam Delap, for his injury, gave Chelsea a much needed physical edge. This all things I agree with. Chelsea have also provided necessary cover for Marc Cucurella by acquiring Joel Hatto from Ajax, and believe attacking midfielder Bonate can make a positive contribution following his loan move from Brighton. Yes, injuries to two key players in Colwill and Delap are a major blow, and the goalkeeping position is not as strong as title contenders Liverpool, Arsenal and Man City, but Chelsea have offloaded a lot of players they needed, no longer wanted, and looking to leave, like Nkunku, João Felix and Chukwuemeka. Not only that, they've generated more revenue and outgoings than they've spent, a remarkable feat that will help them comply with financial fair play. So yes, definitely, outgoings for me was like a 9 out of 10 for the season. It was really, really positive, right? Will Maresca be happy? Talk to any manager and they will always want more. On taking the job last year, Maresca knew that his same transfer to Stamford Bridge would be limited, and his main task was to concentrate on coaching the team. Maresca seemed to imply after Colwill's injury in pre-season that he would like another defender, only to clarify those comments in rather tense fashion a few days later. Last week, the Italian insisted that he had fallen in love with the squad from day one, and really he should be. There's a lot of coaches who would want to work with the talent he has at his disposal. It's similar to what I was saying earlier, right? He wanted a replacement for Colwill, but clearly the hierarchy, especially, we've got multiple centre-backs out on loan, we've got some good centre-backs in the academy as well. They'd rather sort of take a risk. Maybe we're not completely favourites for the title. It'd be kind of different maybe if we were coming off a Premier League win and we just won the title. With these comments from Maresca, we go out and we get that left-footed centre-back. Maybe we get Hincapié instead of him going to Arsenal or something like that. We look at a few more options, right? Just to strengthen. But because I don't think they really have, let's win the title on the cards, they were like, let's be patient for now, and work with what you got. What will be the priority for January? Centre-back is an area to keep an eye on if they struggle without Colwill, who was out for most of the season with an ACL. In saying that, Chelsea will be reluctant to block the pathways of Amadou Sarr and Anselmino. It is more likely that one of them will be recalled than a new addition be added. So let's see what happens. I think we've got enough depth now, especially if Badiashile and Fofana stay fit. I think there's definitely enough. There's enough depth in our team. We've got a champion who can play there, Joel Hatto. So for me, I think we do have enough depth. But if we do get a couple more injuries, then for sure in January we could look at recalling one of them, depending who plays better, right? Chelsea are always on the lookout for the right player at the right price. They have also shown they like to buy talent for the future and let them continue to develop at their current club or elsewhere before officially joining. Yet it should be noted that their business in the last 2 January windows has been limited, so it might take something drastic to change. Will there be money to spend in that window? There are still funds available for them to do so, anything they need to do. Chelsea provided a clue in regards by lodging a 40 million bid for Fermin Lopez a few days before some was not spent elsewhere. So let's see what happens. For now, it doesn't look like we're going to really pursue anything. In January, if anything, we'll call someone if we're getting lots of injuries. But for me, I think they're going to save their funds. Had a really positive sort of, selling, and the outgoings were really good, right? So we banked a lot of money. Hopefully we're good on the financial fair play aspect. And then next summer, we can really look to maybe add some of the big boys. Obviously Chelsea, we have 4 away games now in the space of 10 days. So Brentford away, so we got that on Saturday. Bayern Munich away on Wednesday, so a quick turnaround as well, right? Man United away, we've always struggled at Old Trafford, even when United have been really poor and we've been in decent form. It's a stadium we always struggle at, so it's going to be a tough game. Everyone can laugh at United, and how bad they are, but I'm telling you, that's not going to be an easy game. We're not going to go there and win 3-0, certainly not. And then Lincoln City, Chelsea. So, we should be okay for there. But mainly, these next 3 games are definitely going to be tricky. The Brentford game isn't a pushover either. And I also wanted to point this out. I can't play it just because of the copyright right. We might get a bit of issues there. But if you haven't already, definitely watch this small comp, right, by Satbayev. So if you didn't know, he's from Kazakhstan. We have signed him. He'll join in August next year, 2026. But he's so talented. Like, if he is a freak, I'm not going to lie. He's 17, playing in a really weak team. Kazakhstan is not a good national team at all. And just look what he was doing against Belgium. For me, he's like an Aguero regen. Really similar profile. Sort of that short, stocky, great pace, can dribble and can shoot off both feet. And, pretty composed in the final third as well. So do me a favour, if you haven't seen this, watch this comp on Twitter. And definitely want to watch this season, track his progress. He was doing decent in the Champions League qualifying games as well. I'm pretty excited. Let's see how he is this season. Maybe he comes next season and he's there in the squad, or he maybe will loan into Strasbourg. But I really like this signing again. It looks like our scouts have got it on the money here. For me, this is an Aguero regen, like just purely basing off the profile. Obviously, he's not quite Aguero yet, right? And then just following off, because obviously we've got the Alliance, 4 days later, I was just sort of experimenting and thinking what sort of lineup we could go for the Brentford game. And I believe we do need to rotate a bit, just due to, yes, we can play our main players, but say Cucurella, he played full 90 minutes yesterday for Spain. Yes, he can come in and he can certainly play against Brentford, but he's going to be on tired legs and we're going to need him to be, fit and ready for Bayern. So I think we need to rotate, not heavily, because we still need to respect Brentford and we still need to go out there and get the 3 points. But this is the sort of lineup I'd go with. So obviously Sanchez in goal. I'd go with Gusto. Gusto did start the last Premier League game as well, right? Reece James has played a bit for England. I'm not the biggest fan of that. I would have liked to see him on the bench. It is what it is, right? Tuchel loves him and he's performing great for England. But for me, I think we need Gusto. We need Reece James fully fit for the Bayern Munich game, 100%. And this is a game Gusto should perform quite well in as well. Chalobah and Tosin, they haven't played too many games, so they should be fine to play. And then I'd go with Joel Hasso at left back, sort of playing that inverted left back role. So we've got the 3 centre backs, and that gives the license for Gusto to just bomb forward. Then I think Cucurella has to have a rest. Otherwise, he, like I said, he's been playing full minutes for Spain. He's playing every game for Chelsea. Yes, he's got great fitness and stamina, but we need him to be fit, right? So for me, I would bench him. Maybe he can come on, get 20 minutes at the end of the game or something like that. I would actually rest Caicedo as well. I think this is a game Andre Santos could cook in. I think he could definitely perform quite well. I'd start Endo Fernandez just because I believe he was suspended for Argentina, so he didn't actually travel. So he has stayed with the squad, just doing some training with Maresca in the team. So it would be different if he did go to Argentina and he played a couple games. This would be different, but for me, I believe Fernandez can start. I'd go Neto on the right. I'd bench. It's harsh to bench Esteval, right? But I think he needs the rest. We need him fully fit for the Bayern Munich game. It's such a big game going away from home, the Allianz. It's not going to be easy. So it's a little bit of a risk, but Neto is certainly capable of playing that right wing spot. I would go with João Pedro. Yes, he's played for Brazil. He might be a bit tired. But again, we need the 3 points. We can't bench everyone. I don't think, we can just throw Buonanotte in there and rest João Pedro. So for me, I would play him. And his link-up play is going to help the whole attack as well. I would start Garnacho. So this would be Garnacho's first start for Chelsea. Personally, I would go with him over Gittins or, over Neto on the left. I think this is a game, you know, Garnacho can show what he's made of. And then I would go with Mark Gay up top as well. I think we need the striker presence. Him and João Pedro might be able to link up quite nicely. And we've got 2 fast wingers as well, so they can use their link-up play and potentially get some nice through balls in behind the defence. But, you know, this was just something I sort of thought about. It's not definite. I'll make a separate video, you know, Friday closer to the Brentford game, right? So that's just what I was thinking about. But otherwise, that's all the news for today, boys. So, lots of exciting things to keep an eye on. Chelsea's almost back, so if you did like the video, drop a like, subscribe, and I'll see you boys tomorrow. So, peace.